This happened the summer of 2006. My friend and I had the whole Saturday hanging out, shopping, and sightseeing. We live in a small town not far from the border of Arizona and New Mexico. In the evening, we went back to my house to eat dinner. My husband at the time had cooked dinner. He had made plans to take our 2 sons to the movies and maybe ice cream afterwards. My friend and I had the night to ourselves, we learned, so we planned to go out, have a few drinks, and maybe dance a little. We got ready and left for the night. We went to the little bar on the outskirts of town. There wasn't many people when we got there. Maybe about a few couples and some guys playing pool, some at the bar. We went to the dance floor, got a table and drinks. There was a live band, so it was pretty loud and made it hard to make conversation. We sat there and watched. We finished about half our bottle, and my friend wanted to go to the restroom. Like everyone knows, girls go together. So we went. There was only 2 stalls, so I waited. I washed my hands repeatedly and refreshened my makeup. We were the only 2 in there at the time. We were laughing and joking. I grabbed a paper towel to use to open the restroom door. As I was putting the paper around the handle, the door opened by itself. I looked out the door thinking somebody was coming in and pushed the door, but there was nobody in the hall. I looked at my friend and she just looked at me and walked out. We went back to our table. Waitress came by, but we didn't feel like drinking anymore. I looked at my friend and she said, "Did you see that?" I was so glad she'd seen it too. We both only had half a bottle of beer. I told her I never touched the handle. She said, "I know." We sat there for a good minute without saying any other words. We shot out of that place. I don't know what we seen, or what made the door open like that. The door was too heavy to open on its own. We never went back to that bar again. A year later, the bar closed. Another business would open in its place, but they never stay opened for long. I always wondered about the door. Was it a friendly spirit opening the door for us? I am very freaky about clean hands and will not touch anything without tissue or paper towel. Was there something on the handle that spirit didn't want me to touch because of my OCD? I'll never know. I live in Gallup, New Mexico, a city surrounded by Native American culture and history. We have many surrounding towns and reservations that have been here for a very long time, and people claim they are haunted. My experience actually takes place right in Gallup on the east side of the city near a very small reservation. My best friend visited her sister every weekend who lived in the low rental apartments on the east side. Right across from these apartments is an elementary school, and one I actually attended when I was a little girl. During these weekends, I would spend the night with my friend at her sister's apartment. At night, when there was absolutely nothing to do and the kids and parents were asleep, we'd go outside to the park that was right there in the middle of the apartments and chill. One night, we became bored and actually took off walking. I'd say it was about 2 a.m. We were used to being up late, so we were wide awake. Of course, like any teenage girls, wanting to stay up late. Well, we walked behind the apartments and there's no light and tons of bushes and prairie dog holes in the ground. As we were walking, I sensed that someone was staring at us or following us. So I turned around to look and nothing was there. As I turned to look forward, my friend suddenly grabbed my arm and she said in a scared whisper, "Oh my God, what is that thing?" I looked into the darkness and saw nothing. The wind was slightly blowing that night and there were a few trees ahead of us, so I passed it off as the wind moving the leaves. I told her, "It's just the wind, dude, chill out," and kept walking. But as I looked again, I saw what looked like a black figure moving throughout the trees. I stopped and said, "I think it might be a drunk crashing out back there for the night." Just so I wouldn't scare the crap out of my friend, I kept a calm voice, which was awfully hard for me to do because I was sensing that this thing in the trees wasn't a nice person. I said, "Do you want to go back home?" And she said, "No, we're almost at the store. Let's just keep going." So as we kept walking, we heard movement in the trees, a swift, fast movement. We started walking faster, like power walking. I heard something behind us and I looked, and it looked like a wounded or hurt dog. I wasn't really scared because where I live, there's a lot of that. But what I heard next stopped me dead in my tracks and paralyzed me from my legs up. I heard this dog moan and growl at the same time, as if it wanted me for a midnight snack. I literally couldn't move, and my friend was trying to distract me, saying, come on, we gotta run." But her scream sounded distant, as if I had gone deaf, or as if she was far away. I had made eye contact with this thing, and I knew that it was a bad decision. I closed my eyes and said a short prayer without even thinking. I turned around and ran for my life with my friend close by my side. I tried not to look behind us, but something was telling me to look. So I glanced behind us, and a man was running for us. But he wasn't just running on his hands and knees. I screamed and my friend joined in, only because I scared her when I yelled. We ran faster. We finally got to the road where there was light and cars passing. We had ran for about 7 minutes straight and were completely out of breath. I remember our sides aching and cramping. We stopped to catch our breath, and I turned to look behind us again and saw the man, way in the distant darkness, running back to where he had came from. We walked not even 2 minutes and finally got to the store. The lady asked us, "Are you girls okay?" We replied out of breath, "Yes, just a late night run." I could tell she didn't believe us, so she asked, "Did you girls run from the apartments?" I answered, "Yeah, why?" And she said, "Oh, are you girls sure you're okay?" We looked at each other, and my friend just told her, "Well, not really. We just had a horrible encounter with something. We don't know what it was or who it was." The lady said, "You girls just ran from a skinwalker. Whoever it was always chases someone he catches walking in the road at night. You girls are lucky you made it this far." As if we weren't shaken up already, what she had told us had added to it. We didn't have any money, but she offered us a bottle of water and a ride back home. She closed down the store and gave us a ride. As we passed the bushes and the trees we had just come from, we all had definitely saw something running. But the lady told us to ignore it and close our eyes. We finally entered the apartment complex, and she finally asked us, "Which is yours?" "Apartment D." As we were getting out of the car, she told us, "You guys stay home at night now. There's no need for 2 young girls to be running around at 2 in the morning. Keep yourself safe, you hear?" We nodded and said goodbye and thank you. After that night, we never left the apartment complex after 12 a.m. To this day, I am still shook up about what I experienced that night, and I also don't know what it was that followed us that night. This happened between 2000 and 2003. I was working at a bank building as a security guard on the graveyard shift. This building has 18 floors. The first floor was the main entrance. The next 5 floors are parking garages for employees, and the rest of the floors are office buildings. The 11th floor was completely vacant. The building manager was unable to rent it out. This floor was always freezing cold, even in the summer. The security officer that was training me told me that he was going to show me this floor, but not tell me the history of it, to see how I would act on this floor. He told me the story after my reaction to this floor. I told him that I felt someone had died on the floor and that the spirit was haunting this floor. I even told him which room it happened in. The story goes that a woman and her husband worked that floor. The husband thought his wife was having an affair, so he shot her and then killed himself. Anyway, I picked out the right room. Everyone is afraid to work there. I had several small incidences, but I will just tell the major ones. I wanted to see if I could record the ghosts, so I bought a digital recorder and left it running on the 11th floor. What I recorded was the normal noises, me up and down on the elevator, the water fountain, the building creaking, and so on. What I also recorded was chanting. The history is all of downtown was built on Indian burial grounds. Couldn't make out all the words, but you can clearly hear a man chanting and a woman mumbling. When I was 10 years old, my family had moved to New Mexico and bought a big 2-story house. We lived in it for about a year. The first few weeks in the house seemed normal, but a month of living there, me and my brother were sitting in my room playing video games when, out of nowhere, we heard someone fall down the stairs. We went out of the room to look, and no one was there. So we went downstairs to talk to my mom, only to realize that there was a note on the kitchen counter saying, "Joey, had to go pick up your father from the airport. Be back soon." Me and my brother didn't really think much of the occurrence that had happened that night. 2 days later, the family was sitting around the dinner table eating dinner when they heard laughter of children. Then the power just shut down completely. My father and mother thought it was just a blown fuse or something of the sort, grabbed 2 flashlights, and went to the fuse box in our basement. About a minute after they went to the basement, my brother, who, by the way, was 7, had gotten scared. So me and him went to the kitchen pantry where we had stored a few extra flashlights just in case we ever needed them. When we got the flashlight, turned it on, we saw a horrible looking little man standing there with little red beady eyes. I had gotten scared and tried to hit it away with the flashlight, but when I took a good swing at it, it just laughed a horrible laugh. We ran as fast as we could into the kitchen about 2 minutes after the lights came on. For weeks, we would see this horrible little man. After a while, we really didn't think of him as much of a threat, but a couple months of living in that house, we decided to move because my father had found a better job. One day, while I was loading boxes of my kid stuff downstairs, I felt something smack me hard on the back. I fell, but I caught myself, and I went downstairs to tell my mom what had happened. She told me to lift up the back of my shirt. When I did, she seen a handprint on my back. After that occurrence, nothing else happened. It took us about 2 days to move out. I have lived in New Mexico my entire lifetime and never moved. As a result of living in the center of the Southwest, I have heard the story of La Llorona multiple times and in many different versions. I live very close to about 2 rivers, and when I was little, I heard a version of the story where she drowned her children in the river that I could easily walk to. I never thought that I would pay it much attention. Nevertheless, see her, hear her, and slightly see, but recently all that changed. I have 3 friends that are brother and sister to each other. In the summer of 2008, we were having a sleepover. We had been planning this for about a month, and earlier in the day, we had brought all the food and other snacks we can imagine. We planned to fire up the grill to make s'mores at about 8 o'clock and just sit outside and have a good time. At every sleepover we have, it seems that the Halloween decorations seem to be taken out of the closet a lot. This time, I randomly grabbed a plastic skull and carried it with me. 8 o'clock came around and we made s'mores in the front yard. It was fun, seeing as I was the first, second, third, and last to set mine on fire. We walked around barefoot on the driveway for a bit. I set the skull on the wall of our patio. After a bit, we sat in front of the door, talking silently. During a small moment of silence, and nothing to say, we heard a moan come from up the hill. It sounded outside and very close, but still far away. We ran inside, and in the haste, I nearly got shut out. We were all accounted for, and we ran into my room. When we heard it, it seemed like it was coming our way fast. We all believed it was La Llorona, but we shook it off as one of my neighbors trying to scare us. The 2 streets we lived on had ex-criminals and people with mental disorders everywhere. I eventually noticed that I didn't have the plastic skull with me. About 2 or so hours later, I walked through my dark hallway to switch on as many lights as possible right when I was in my entryway. I looked out the narrow window next to the front door. I saw what looked like a misty shape of a person hovering there. It looked kind of like a woman, but I couldn't tell very easily. It was all very light. I didn't stay to find out. I turned tail and ran back to my room. Before I got to running half of the 2 feet into my hallway, I looked down a bit and saw my plastic skull right next to the door. I'm still not sure if that really was La Llorona, but one of my friends at that sleepover, the older sister, had heard her once before, and the moaning sounded just the same. The older sister was with us, hearing bells for the rest of the night. I hope you enjoyed these New Mexico stories. They were creepy. I also hope you ghouls are enjoying the Vlog-O-Ween. It's keeping me pretty busy. I don't really have much to say right now. Let's see. Secret word or question of the day. Do you like pumpkin spice? 'Cause I'm iffy on it. So far, I've noticed that you either absolutely love and are obsessed with pumpkin spice, or you just, despise pumpkin spice. And I'm more on the despise pumpkin spice side. I like pumpkin cake and, pumpkin pie, but I don't like pumpkin drink, pumpkin cereal, I don't want pumpkin in all my shit. Alright? I know it's fall, but, cool your jets, man. So let me know, do you ghouls like pumpkin spice or nah? But as always, my last video will be on the top left, next video will be on the bottom left. All my social medias are on the screen, as well as in the description box below. And remember, there's always someone or something watching you.